All right, we are live. We're going to wait for Rob to jump in. As soon as Rob jumps in, things are going to get crazy. It's going to get, it's Tuesday. It's Taco Tuesday. So if you guys didn't get tacos last week, you need to get tacos this week. You can't invest in real estate unless you get tacos. It's as simple as that. So as soon as Rob gets in here, we'll jump on board. There he is. We'll bring Rob in. Adding. Man, technology is not cooperating today. It's been one of those days. Like Murphy's Law, if anyone's familiar with Murphy's Law, if it can go wrong, it will go wrong. It's kind of how it's been, but just keep pushing through. So, because today we're continuing with our bye week. So, week 2. So, remember, guys, real estate investment is as easy as ABC: acquire, buy, close. So, there we go. And so yesterday, what we did was we covered the.
There we
There we
go.
go. Welcome. And so yesterday, what we did was we covered. Whoop, you want to mute that? I can hear myself. It's kind of weird. It's trippy.
One second. Let's see. Is that better?
Much better. Well, you're kind of blurry, but hey, I'll take it. You got like one of those old phones, but you're fine.
Yeah, I know.
All right. Okay. So, well, I mean, when we kicked things off a little bit, I was just telling people it's Taco Tuesday. So if you didn't get tacos last week, you still have another week to redeem yourself. Today's absolutely see dinner ideas.
Yes.
But we're gonna jump back into things. So it's day 2 of bye week. So last week it was all about acquire. Yesterday was let's figure out that ARV. Let's figure out those repair costs. But today it's it's a huge integral piece of bye week, but it's one that a lot of people don't quite understand. Is it's being persistent when you're getting these deals. So you get these guys on the phone and they're like, "Hey, well, what kind of price can you shoot me?" So you go through that formula we talked about. 70% ARV minus repair costs equals your maximum. What was the
Allowable
what did we
offer.
say?
It's your maximum
Maximum
allowable
allowable
offer.
offer. And so, then it's a matter of Ray, happy Tuesday. Cannot wait for you to get that property. Thank you so much for posting pictures in the group. It's going to be great. So, um, sorry, I get like that stuff. Just man, that motivates me, man. Just pumps me up. I love seeing people make some money. But today is about persistence because one of the big things that I'm sure everyone here can attest to is you get this deal, you get these guys on the phone, they're like, yeah, I want to sell my house. You tell them like this is the offer I'm gonna make, and you try to set up an appointment, and what do you get? Crickets. You get crickets. You don't get, you want to go walk the house, and suddenly they don't take your call. They don't let you in. I mean, what do we talk about is that Rob, they they do not care about you
You're
until
not
you
working. Yeah, you're working on their schedule. You're not
absolutely.
working on your schedule, and so you have to understand that because they're the ones that have something that you want, which is the house or a property. You're the one that wants to fix the problem that they have, which is what you're trying to figure out. Because a lot of times they're not going to tell you what the real problem is um, on that first phone call or even the second phone call. It might be the fifth or sixth. I mean, yeah, it takes a while. And so that is one of the things that, especially if you get in this and you're new, um,
hmm
it gets a little frustrating because like you've done all this work, you've tracked down these people finally. You find somebody that has a deal that you have a number, you think that it will work, and the truth is you don't know until you've actually talked to them. And what you're liable to get the first time you talk to them is they have an unrealistic number. So they have a house that is falling down, has no roof, has a hole in the wall and a hole in the roof. They have the foundation is like this, and they are like, oh, my neighbor's house sold for 200, so I want 195.
Absolutely. If any of you have gone out and made a bid on a house before and had that happen, type crazy below, because I'm sure that we have all run into crazy owners that it's like, I've got roots growing through the floors. I have natural skylights everywhere, AKA branches have torn a hole through it, but they still want retail. Those guys are crazy. So anyway, Rob, sorry, keep going.
Well, but I mean, the big thing with is that what you have to keep in mind is that they still aren't getting that problem solved by trying to ask for way too much. It's just like, think about, one of the things that I go back to is like, I would, when I was in college, you buy books and then you wind up turning around and selling them back, and then you're selling them back for next to nothing, right? And the value of the books has not really gone down that much, it seems, but it's like you bought them for 100% and you're selling for 20. And you do it because at the end of the day, that's what they're worth. And, what you've got to understand is that the value that you come up with on the homes, when it comes to the ARV and it comes to the formulas and you figure out the repairs, you can only give the number and the amount that the property's worth. And so if they come back with a crazy number, it's okay. Because if the number is truly crazy and they can't find somebody that's going to buy it, you now have rapport with them. You have visited with them. You've actually sat down there and seen them. You've generally seen them face to face. And what comes to mind is that, okay, maybe they can't get 195 for it. Maybe at the end of the day, your offer of 90 actually is the best offer that they have. And the only way that you're going to get there is that you've got to let them achieve that number, which means just be persistent. You don't have to be pushy. Pushy is if you call 5 times a day. Pushy is if they tell you that, hey, stop.
Don't be a crazy ex-girlfriend.
Being persistent.
Don't be it's not a female
Right.
thing. There are
Right.
crazy ex-boyfriends too. So this is a mutually exclusive thing. Don't be that crazy ex. Okay, let them go. Let them go. The big thing like that Rob always shares with people. There's always another deal. There's
always another deal.
And this is the point. And guys, I really, really want to stress this, is that it's situations like this that the whole creative investment, creative financing kind of comes into play, is that you get wrapped up in a deal where you want to make it happen so bad. And you're like, I'm going to subject to this. I'm going to owner finance this. I'm going to get a wrap on this. And, I'm going to make this deal work. And the thing is that, and we were on a call with Ray yesterday and we were talking to her about this. I mean, we'll get more in depth with it, but like things like subject to, they are great. Don't get me wrong. And Rob says, just like, there are only certain home projects that you use a hammer for. It has its place. But if you use these creative finance deals in the wrong setting, you can get jammed up with the deal, and you run the risk of, of having something bad happen. So you always want to have a multiple exit strategy. So Jordan, wants to talk about a wraparound mortgage. So a wrap. Rob, you want to talk about a wrap real quick and kind of what goes into that?
Sure. Real simple. A wrap is a mortgage that is, so in a situation where you go and you buy a property from somebody that already has an existing mortgage on it, instead of actually paying off that mortgage, what they do is that they will write the second mortgage to you. They will sell the property to you. This is used a lot of times when you have private investors with the first mortgage. So say you have a house that's worth $100,000. It has a $100,000 first mortgage on it. They turn around, they sell it to you, and they put a $120,000 mortgage on the property. The idea being is that they're going to pay down the first mortgage with the proceeds from your wrap, and the wrap will just you just keep paying down your second mortgage, which is on the property. They will keep paying down their first. Now, one of the things that I would warn people about, and just this is the attorney side of me coming out, is that if you are the buyer, on a property that is wrapped, you want to make sure that payments are being made to that first mortgage. You can ask if you can pay them directly. If it's a private lender, you could probably just ask. If it's any kind of institutional lender or any kind of business with an LLC or something behind it, what they're going to require is that you have something known as the borrower's authorization. Borrower's authorization generally is good for anywhere from 3 months to up to a year. But you get that so that you can go ahead and talk to them about that account. The risk of the wrap is if the person that you bought the property from is the one responsible to make the payment on the underlying mortgage and they stop doing it, then that mortgage company or that note holder can foreclose on the property and you lose out. So they are risky. I mean, it's again, it's a tool that can be used in certain situations. I wouldn't use it everywhere, but the basics of the wrap are that it allows you to get into a property for not without having to go out and get traditional financing and putting and getting a ton of money or borrowing against a ton of money. You're basically dealing with somebody that's owner financing your purchase, but you're trusting them to keep making their payments. And that's not me. I don't trust them.
Yeah, that's a big thing for us. One of the things that we always preach is that these creative finance deals, these creative investment deals, like Rob said, that they have their place. We always try to maintain as much control of the deal as we possibly can. It's one of those where I'm sure the sellers are great people, and I would love to break bread with them later, but I don't trust you. I trust myself to get it done, and at the end I trust Rob and his experience with a lot of this stuff. And so,
well, and the thing is, guys, is that I've seen plenty of wraps that I'm dealing with the person that bought the property, and the first person that the person that sold them the property, the person that wrote the wrap for them, has just up and disappeared or stopped making payments, and they're getting foreclosed on, and there's not a whole lot you can do for them. And so that becomes an issue. And so really what I look for is like, hey, if I'm going to buy a property, I want to make sure that I'm getting good, clean, and clear title, that there's nothing else that's outstanding on the property. And so that's why I tend to stay away from it. Doesn't mean that it's not usable in a certain situation. In certain situations, it would be good. If you can go and pay directly to the underlying note holder and basically are cutting 2 checks, one to them and one to the person who sold you the property, awesome. Then at that point in time, you've got control over the deal as the buyer. But
sometimes, and like Rob,
investor,
you said too,
that's something to look out for.
And you've said it before too, is that sometimes the bank doesn't have to take your money, and Jordan, to your point about subject to, is that's kind of exactly what it is that, believe it or not, and guys, this sounds very, very backwards. And when Rob was teaching me about this the very first time, my mind was blown. I was like, wait a second. And what it is that, so if you're going to do a subject to or a wrap, and you are going to be the one paying someone else's mortgage, believe it or not, the bank does not have to take your money. And what they will do then is they will basically foreclose on the note, and force it to come due. And so that is, potentially one of the downfalls to a subject. That is one of the downfalls to a subject to, is the bank can accelerate that process.
That's right. So the issue with subject to is that you're doing it with, the bank has the option, especially if it's a bank. If you're talking about a larger lending institution, they have the option. A lot of times they have very good reasons to not accept payment from someone else on a property or on a file that has been problematic. And so what you just have to understand is that before you get into that, make sure you understand the entire situation. Make sure that the bank will accept your money. Make sure that the underlying note holder will accept your money. Because believe it or not, I've had that exact situation happen where we had a bank that would just send back money that we were sending them. And it wasn't a small amount. It was like $7,000. And so, and the reason why was because the underlying, the party that we were paying on behalf of had defaulted many times. And then the bank was just done with it, wanted to clean that off their books. And they looked at it, it's like, well, why would we go ahead and jump into bed with you who we don't have an agreement with? And, that's the thing you have to understand. It's like everybody has a reason for acting the way that they're going to act. It's not crazy. People aren't stupid. People don't do things because they just are dumb. They do things because they have a reason. You just have to figure out what that reason is. And eventually, with knowledge and experience and asking a lot of questions, you're going to learn why. And that will help explain kind of what's the best tool for this situation. So as far as so as far as subject to and wraps, I mean, they're useful in their own place, but not necessarily all the time. And that's my only thing with that, is that they're not the answer for everything. You look at the Facebook groups and every other property is a subject to, and it's not.
Yeah, and so that's the big thing. We obviously, like, we just touched on, some of the creative financing ways that you can get into these investment properties. And a lot of times you get into these situations because you get a deal where the numbers don't necessarily check out, but you are so hungry to do that deal. And hey, I respect the hustle. I do. But you have to approach these things with a level head. Is like, what is your appetite for risk in these deals? How strong is your buyer's list? What is your ability to exit these deals? One thing that Rob always talks about, and I can't stress enough to you, my savvy real estate investors, is always have multiple exit strategies in hand when you're going into these deals. So, try to find an end buyer, try to find, wholesale your own deal, have some institutional buyers that are there. And what we mean by institutional buyers is people who have bigger buyers lists or more of a capacity to be able to help you out of a deal. Because sometimes, and believe it or not, this happens to a lot of deals, especially newer, people who are into wholesaling and real estate investment, is that they get themselves into these situations and they get jammed. And, they will, they'll lose their earnest money. There's a lot of things that will happen with this. And so we talk about these deals, but, we're coming at it from a standpoint of, educating you on this is what they are. But, and as we go on with our lives, and if any of you join our group coaching later on, we'll talk about this is when. And so when we're talking about being persistent and touching on why these people are selling, is identify that need and really work that out. Because if you're being persistent, it might take a little bit of extra work, but if you get them at your price, one, the spread is going to be more, the deal is going to go much more smooth. But it's when you introduce these, these different forms of creative financing that you could run the risk of, something going sideways, especially if it's your first deal, if it's your second deal and you're still not solid. Be very careful. We're not sitting here saying don't do it, but you're going to reach out to someone like us or find someone who has done it before, because Rob's been a part of thousands of deals, literally thousands of deals. And if he's telling you, hey, this is my experience, I'm going to listen to a guy who's done more deals than most brokerages. So if he's saying, hey, cool it with the subject too, listen.
Well, and the thing is like, guys, just don't bite off more than you can chew. I mean, it's true when you're 4 years old and you're trying to eat too much. It's true when you're trying to take down like an 80-ounce steak. It's just, don't bite off more than you can chew, because what's happening is, if it's your first deal or your second deal or your third, look, do the deal that you can do. Be persistent. Stay within your parameters. Stay within your numbers. Make sure that you're solving the problem that the seller actually has, not one that you assume they have. And, the deals will go much, much smoother if you try and do and fit in everything on every single one. You're not going to close 100% of the deals that you go after. You're just not. what you've got to understand is that not everything is a deal right away. There are investors I know that chase deals for years, 4 or 5 years. I had a deal
Fill the
actually
funnel.
that I did. Yeah, you keep the funnel filled, and then eventually it's going to come through. And if you're aware of the different places that you can find deals, you're going to be able to take advantage of that, because I had a deal where I did a tax loan for the people. 5 years later, I was able to turn around and buy the property at a foreclosure auction. 2 years after that, I was able to go ahead and sell the property. And it's because I just was aware of what was going on with it. Just stay persistent as far as the staying persistent is not just for finding a deal, but it's also for finding an exit strategy, finding
And buyers, like
if
Ray
you
just asked a question about buyers. She's like, is there too many? Absolutely not. Like, hey, the question is,
oh God, no,
can you have too many?
no.
Can you have too many leads? Absolutely not. Can you have too many buyers? No. I mean, honestly, as many as you can humanly handle. Because here's the thing, Ray. What's going to happen is that, especially the longer you wholesale, either you're going to have deals for them, or you're going to meet people that have deals. It's going to open up your JV opportunities. You gotta have them in all shapes and sizes. Like Rob talks about, it's like you have your make it beautiful, you have your make it okay, you have your buy and hold. You got to segment it out. There is no limit to the amount of buyers that you should have. Honestly, like I said, you guys will meet Mike tomorrow. So remember, shameless plug again, tomorrow 6 p.m. You're going to get to meet a wholesaler that's doing 30 plus deals a month, every single month right here in the Dallas area. And he'll tell you the same thing. Every single day, he's trying to acquire new sellers. And every single day, he's trying to acquire new buyers. There is no limit to the amount of buyers you should have.
No, that's right. And I mean, the truth is that, and a lot of people have asked, like, hey, do you need to get a deal before you start looking for buyers? And the truth is absolutely not. Go ahead, have them. You can start looking for buyers the day you decide, hey, I want to start wholesaling, or hey, I want to get into real estate. Go look for buyers, because you're going to need them. But the big thing is just stay persistent. Not everything's going to break your way right away. It's going to take a little while. You need to stay at it. It's like anything else. It takes hard work, and it takes determination, and it takes you just going out there and sticking with it, because you're going to make mistakes, especially as you start, and don't let the mistakes stop you, because they're only as big a problem as you allow them to be.
Absolutely.
And that's the big thing with this. It's like you can sell houses with no money down now. Is it easier to do it with money? Absolutely. But can you do it the other way without any money? You can. I mean, is it easy? No, it's not easy. But I mean, anything that's worth doing isn't. So just keep that in mind, and stay after it, and you're going to get there. If you're doing
Absolutely.
the right things, you're going to get there.
And Ray, just like we talked about yesterday, when do you become the prettiest girl in school? It's when you got that first deal. It's when you got that contract in hand. So never be intimidated by not having enough buyers, because you know what? Like that ugly duckling turns into a swan the second she has a contract in hand. So don't let that shake you. But that's a good place for us to kind of wrap up today. Jordan, if you do have a property, shoot it to us. We'll check it. We'll run the numbers, and we can JV with you on it. Especially if you found it while you were here driving around in Dallas, because hey, it just so happens we're in Dallas, and I drive around there every single day. But until next time, guys, remember, stay persistent. Don't sacrifice too much by way of the deal. Don't, if you've never done a subject to or anything like that, don't get too creative too early. It ends up, it could end up, biting you in the butt. It happens. But, again, one more time, because today is Tuesday. Tomorrow is the big day. Tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Like I said, we're going to have my buddy in here, a good friend of both Rob and I. He's doing 30 deals a month right now, over 400 deals a year, in the process of scaling between 700 and 800 deals a year right here in the Dallas Metroplex. He's going to share all the secrets, you know, what they do for buyers, how they find sellers, how they chase them down, good processes for it. He's going to share some information for the new and experienced. So make sure you guys are in here. He's going to drop a ton of knowledge. And again, I've got the announcement above. Hit me with your questions, you know, so then that way I have stuff to pepper him. So if you want your question answered, I would ask it now. So you guys make it a great night. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, guys, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense.